All right, that was weird. Okay, let's see here. You still there, Fritz?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if this one. Because I've had audio issues before, but I've never had the issue where it like actually will play. Like it'll actually
Mhm.
say we're receiving the audio. All right, that
Oh,
was.
okay.
Okay, it seems like it's working now. Okay. All right, sorry about that, everybody. I apologize for that. Technical issues
Yep. Yeah.
happen from time to time when you're such a awesome alpha male.
You
Um,
want to share your screen again?
yes, and we'll see because hopefully that's not what the issue was. Okay,
Hmm.
so Fritz wants to torture himself, so he's joining me tonight. We're gonna watch the Republican primary together, the debate. We're gonna see who wins, who loses, that kind of thing. From my
We
understand,
all lose.
from my understanding, Vivek does the best, which I'm not surprised about.
I'm there of our.
Do you have any thoughts about Vivek?
Can you just before? Can you share like the screen where the debate is?
Yeah, that was the one I shared, wasn't it?
It's just showing your avatar.
Um, where?
On the where it shows share your screen.
Okay, because I can see on your. You have to click on the screen. You probably clicked on my avatar.
Aha. All right.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All right. I think Vivek is kind of a grifter and is trying to pose himself as he wants to be the VP, and I think he has a good shot because Trump's obviously going to not want to pick another normie considering the last one is a complete snake.
Yeah, I think so. Here's my read on Vivek. There's no shame in losing if you do way better than anyone expected you to do. Like no one even knew who
Mhm.
the fuck Vivek was. Nobody went into like this with any expectations. Like people would have been shocked if he had have gotten 1%. And not only did he get 1%, he's in second place now. People generally think that he's doing a fairly decent job. So I think that Trump should make him like Secretary of Commerce or something, or give him some sort of like important role in the administration. But I
Mhm.
don't know. I'm just not that comfortable. I'm going to be honest with like a Hindu being president or VP. People
Because
have,
then, like half of the Anglo world is going to be run by Hindus.
yeah, literally half of it. So, all right, I
Because
can.
like I don't like whenever he says like, "Oh, we believe in God," I'm like, you mean like Vishnu or Shiva, right?
Based?
Well, no, he hasn't said that, but I assume that's what he
Yeah, I
means.
assume that's what it is. Okay, I'm going to start this. Okay, guys in the chat, let me know if the audio balance is okay.
The race for the White House takes flight.
You
Welcome
should
to
probably
the
turn it
first
up a
debate
little.
of the 2024
Okay.
presidential campaign, live at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee.
8 Republican candidates have qualified and have chosen
And then there's
to
like
be
the last
here
guy, like
on
the
our
Birdman or
debate stage tonight.
Bugman.
They are
Who
here
the
to
fuck
lay
is
out their
that?
vision
I
for
don't know.
America, the battle as
He
they
looks
battle
like
for the GOP nomination. Good evening, everybody. I'm Martha McCall.
And I'm Brett Baer.
Oh, it's
This
sponsored
is
by
the
Black
very
Dick
same
Right
stage
Coffee Company.
on which the Republican choice for president will accept the party's nomination next summer. The
Sorry, I
eight
need to turn this
contenders
down a
are
bit, 'cause I think
positioned
it's
by
louder
the
than
order
you are.
they sit in the polls, with the highest polling candidates in the middle standing center stage. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Fell off.
What a disappointment.
Entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy.
Former Vice President Mike Pence.
Former South Carolina
Ugh.
Governor Nikki Haley.
Oh.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
Yes, Christie! Christie! I'm an ironic fan of Christie because it's just his speeches are so insane.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson.
Oh,
And
he's
North
wearing an
Dakota
Israeli
Governor
pin
Doug
over the
Burgum.
American one.
Some ground rules for tonight. We'll ask the questions, and then candidates get 1 minute to answer. If someone is singled out. You get 30 seconds to respond. And when the time runs out, we all will hear this. Very pleasant.
So tonight, these candidates have a big opportunity to break out of the pack and to explain why they
Especially
are best
Christie
prepared
does.
to be the Republican choice for president. At a time when the likely Democrat nominee, President Joe Biden, is working to convince the country that with Bidenomics, things are looking up.
They call my plan Bidenomics. I'm not sure they meant it in a totally complimentary way at the time. But guess what? It's working.
But is it? More than 65% of Americans say the country is headed in the wrong direction. And here's the reality for some voters we talked to here in Wisconsin this week.
We have noticed a dramatic increase in prices at the grocery store just across the board.
Gas is high, and food.
Have you found that where you live? Because I find like groceries have gone up like 20 to 30% since I moved here.
Yeah, they've gas is still going way up. That's the big thing for me. And then groceries aren't that good, but thankfully I'm a tax bracket higher now, so I can afford more stuff.
So you can afford like hot dogs instead of bologna. Bologna.
I can afford it a little better than that. Let's just say,
Some like canned tuna.
I don't mean to brag, but yeah.
Is high.
No, I don't like
A lot of people's out here
tuna.
homeless because they can't buy.
That's because
food.
you're a savage.
It's tough when you got mortgage rates at 7-8% versus 2 to 3. It's just you can't
I've
afford
had
a house
I had a
anymore.
salmon burger.
It's
a couple
inflation
weeks
is
ago. It was pretty
ridiculous. It's killing us out here.
We sit here tonight.
I went up to Lake Winnipeg last week, and we had I had fresh caught pickerel fried in a lemon and pepper rub.
Yeah, I think next. I was gonna make a bunch of
The
shrimp to
number
make for
one
dinner
song
tomorrow, but
on
I'm
the
like, wait,
Billboard
I don't want to
chart
cook tomorrow.
Is called Rich Men North of Richmond.
What?
It's by a singer from Farmville,
Oh, that song.
Virginia, named Oliver Anthony.
I have no
His
idea.
lyrics
Never
speak
heard
of
of that
alienation, of deep
It like was
frustration
going all around. It's
with
just
the
about. I
state
guess
of
how I haven't
government
heard it either.
and of this country. Washington, D.C. is about 100 miles north of Richmond.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to skip this
Families have
because if I don't skip
basically-
it, I'm gonna get a copyright strike. So let's see.
Okay.
I'm gonna admit, before this whole primary season started, I was marginally in favor of Ron over Trump, but he's just dropped the ball so much.
Country is in decline.
Of who?
This decline is
I was in favor of DeSantis, like marginally. Over
Yeah, like around the time of the midterm elections, he was actually looking really good, and Trump looked kind of petty.
But he just like his campaign has been such a shit show.
not inevitable.
Go
it's
back
a
to
choice.
Florida.
We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline.
He just has no
Here's the thing.
charisma.
With understanding, we must reverse Bidenomics.
If only
that
one of these
middle-class
candidates had
families have
any
a chance
facial
to
hair at
succeed
all, I would
again.
just vote
We
for them on
cannot
that.
succeed as a country if you are working hard and you can't afford groceries, a car, or a new home, while Hunter Biden can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on lousy paintings. That is wrong. We also
God,
cannot
he's so
succeed when the
uncharismatic.
Congress spends trillions and trillions of dollars. Those rich men north of Richmond have put us in this situation. And finally, we need to lower your gas prices. We're going to open up all energy production. We will be energy
Did I tell?
dominant.
I
again in
was
this
at the gas
country.
station yesterday,
I'm
and
sure it could be done in
I
the
got
state
there
of
was a
Florida.
sticker on
I
one of
pledge
the
to you as your
a
president, we
booth
will
that
get
said
the job
that
done,
was like
and
for
I
the
will not
National
let you
Justice
down.
Party, and I looked it up. They're like an extreme right-wing extremist. Like they blame the Jews for everything.
Oh, no, though,
With Governor
TRS
DeSantis
literally
there, and
formed
why
the
would you be
National
better
Justice
on the economy
Yeah,
than him?
Yeah,
Well,
I want to hear
look,
Chris
I do
Christie.
agree predominantly with what Governor DeSantis just laid out. I think that if you asked every one of us up here, that we would agree predominantly with what he just laid out. Here's the difference. The difference is that we're going to have to work and make sure that we sell these ideas. and be able to put ourselves in a position where we get a majority of the vote, not only by winning the Congress and the Senate in 24, but also by having someone who's had the experience of doing it. Now, I was elected as a conservative Republican in a blue state with 61% of the vote, with a Democratic legislature against me the entire time.
Yeah,
and
but you sucked.
Through hard, strong decision
He was just in Ukraine for no reason
to our
whatsoever.
point of view. We cut taxes
Well,
in New
you know
Jersey.
why, but
We cut debt in New Jersey. We made sure that each and every time we were confronted with bad Democratic ideas, we stood and stopped them. And when there were good ideas, we brought people together to make progress going forward. Truth and accountability are the things we need to do to fight waste. And I'd say the last thing is this:
start telling us, get back to like the big small
the kind of spending that's going
thing,
on in
or like
Washington,
some of the
because
other,
every dollar they
like
spend
when you're
is a dollar
telling
that
your
these
priest
people are
the
not
story about how you
allowed to
told your
spend on
priest
their
all the women
children
you were
and
having
their
sex
grandchildren.
with.
It's robbing our country.
Sorry,
and it's wrong.
Well, Governor, let me just follow up very quickly.
He gave a
New
series
Jersey,
of really
when you
weird
were governor, had the second lowest credit rating in the nation after Illinois, and it was downgraded 11 times.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happens when you inherit a blue state that has done that. But when you look at what we
blame
did on
everybody
debt,
else.
Brett, in that state, we cut debt.
Now
in
I
that
just miss
state,
Trump
debt that had been
like
left to
6
us
years ago,
by
or no,
three
7 years
Democratic
ago when you just started
gubernatorial
making fun of
predecessors of
everybody.
mine who ran
That was
up
at least
that debt
entertaining.
tremendously. And what you also saw us do was to cut the unemployment rate in half. It was over 10% when I became governor in 2010.
Dude, you left
What we also
office
did
with
was
single-digit
cut pension payments to public employees to make sure that taxpayers were not being
Single-digit
soaked
employment,
by a public
improvement
employee
rate.
union system that was killing the taxpayer.
Thank you, Governor.
Governor Scott, Tim
Please
Scott,
review
Senator
nefarious.
Scott, excuse me.
Okay, I'll add
the
it to
film
the list.
also goes after
Speaking of which, I saw the menu
As a
last weekend.
senator,
That came out
now
last year. That was.
President Biden
Have you seen that?
argued for freezing federal
really
spending.
good.
This
It's
was
got
back in
Anya
the 80s,
Taylor-Joy and
dealing
Ray
with
Fiennes
sacred
in it.
cows. He does not talk about that anymore. You have been a senator, though, for 10 years. So what have you done to rein in
I don't know.
the increasing...
the physiognomy of Rick Scott I just find really weird. I don't know what it is. It's
Because
like
he's black, isn't it?
Well, no, it's just like his mouth is really weird. Like
he has no distinctive features or something. It's because he has no hair. He has no facial hair. It's like
no, but it's like the way his bottom lip. It looks like he has like a hair lip, or he's like one of those, like a pug or some dog that just I don't know. It bothers me looking at him.
I think he looks like
Well, thank you
Bubba
for the
from
question.
Forrest
Yes.
Gump.
Over the last several years, I've had
He
an
does.
opportunity
You know
to
they were
vote
originally
against
gonna,
spending package after spending
cast Ice
package
Cube
after
in that
spending
role.
package. What we also
Ace?
need to understand is that Joe
They also were
Biden's
thinking of John
Bidenomics
Goodman
has led to the
as
loss of $10,000
Forrest Gump and Joe
of
Pesci as
spending power
Lieutenant Dan.
for
So
the average family.
I wanna
When you
see that
16% inflation. Your gas is up 40%. Your food is up 20%. Your electricity is up 20%. We can stop that by turning the spigot off at Washington, sending
Yeah, but
the
how
money
are you
back
gonna
to
do
the
anything?
states and allowing the decisions to be made.
He's just
at
gonna give
their
more
own
money to
houses.
Israel and Ukraine. That'll fix it.
I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
RFK
in
made it an
2017.
amazing
We cut
tweet
taxes
where he
for a
said,
single
like,
mom, the one
if
that
we
raised
took
me
the
by
most
70%, for
recent
dual
Ukraine
households
funding
by
bill,
60%,
we
returning
could
to the
give like
average
$500,000
family
to every
$4,000.
family in Hawaii
If you
who
don't send it
lost
to
a home.
Washington, we can't spend it. That's good news for the American people.
Okay, but just to follow up, you did, during the Trump administration, you approved 4.4 trillion, 4.1 trillion, 1.7 trillion over the course of that administration.
Just
That's a lot of money.
destroyed.
There's no doubt that during the Trump administration, when we were dealing with the COVID virus, we spent more money. But here's what happened.
You
at
dealt
the
with
end
that
of
the
our
last year.
Time in the majority. We had low unemployment, record low unemployment, 3.5% for the majority of the population, 70-year low for women. African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians had a
No one cares.
all-time low, but our inflation was at 2%. Under Joe Biden, we've seen the exact opposite. We've seen inflation explode, which led to 12 Federal Reserve.
Now, to be slightly fair, part of the reason for the hyperinflation is there was so much money printing that went on during COVID, which I'm, to be fair, I kind of get. If there was going to be a time when they were going to spend a bunch of money and run up some debt, I guess COVID made the most sense, but yeah.
curve increases that's devastating home buyers today.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
You know what's devastating homeowners? Mass immigration.
He looks like a turtle, doesn't he?
He's like a
You're
black
listening to
Mitch
the-
McConnell without
Hold
glasses.
on
That
one
was
second.
our
We're going to-
administration, so I don't know if I get a chance to respond.
He didn't mention you specifically, but we'll be with you in a second.
No, shut
Mr.
up.
Vice President. Mr. Ramaswamy, listening to
Someone
all of
needs to
this,
like
why should
start throwing
voters
bags
choose
of
you
silver at
over more
Mike
experienced politicians on this
Pence.
stage? You're basically, a blank slate for people. You're 38 years old. You've said that you only voted in 2 presidential elections before this moment, this political race.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight. Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage? I'll tell you, I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apoorva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream.
Which one?
Faith in Hindu, in Vishnu. I'll give him one thing. He's much higher energy than like everybody else.
And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it. And I do think Brett is going to take an outsider. Because for a
He's
long time, we
following
have professional
the Trump hand
politicians in the Republican
gestures.
Party who have been running from something. Now is our...
So the Vivek thing is he's broadly speaking trying to appeal to the Trump base, but he has not, I think, attacked Trump like at all. So I think he does want a cabinet post because like there's going to be no issue with Trump bringing him into the amendment.
It's our moment to start running to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American today. If you have a broken car, you don't turn over the keys to the people who broke it again. You hand it over to a new generation to actually fix the problem. That's why I'm in this race, and we're just getting warmed up.
Okay, so like
India
that
has been.
like that's cheesy, but at least there was some energy there. I also like whenever conservatives say we want to present a vision for the future instead of just talking about socialism.
So why are you better positioned to turn around this economy that we've heard all of these voters talking about
Is she
tonight?
part Indian or?
And Mr.
No, she
Ramaswamy,
is.
who
She's
is a
fully
successful
Indian.
entrepreneur nationally right now,
Okay.
he's beating you in the polls.
Well, I
So
don't
she's
care
like an
about polls.
Aryan
What I care
Indian
about.
then.
Her family were Sikh from like Punjab.
Okay.
She's Methodist,
converted-
but a lot of
Okay.
people just think Nikki Haley's white and that she's just like a tan southerner.
About the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the
Include
earmarks that
Ukraine.
Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's
We have
not
to
their
learn the
dollars.
lessons
And
of
while they're
mouse
all saying this,
utopia
you have Ron
and
DeSantis,
behavioral
you've got Tim
sins.
Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all
What is
voted
that?
to
Wait,
raise the
is that a
debt.
reference
And
to?
Donald Trump
Just
added $8 trillion
One
to
presidential
our debt.
debate
And
I
our
was doing
kids are
with
never gonna
Sirk. He
forgive
got
us
really
for this.
drunk and he
so at
started
the end of
yelling
the
about
day,
mouse
you look at the
utopia
2024 budget.
for no reason.
Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White
Like,
House.
does anyone give a shit about any of these numbers? Like there's so
They
much
don't
money.
mean it.
No one can like even. What does that even mean?
54% of voters say the cost of groceries is a, quote, major problem for them.
Right.
You blame the Biden administration spending for that increase. But as vice president, your administration spent more than any prior, $7.8 trillion added to the national debt, $3.5 trillion of that before.
I love how
COVID.
Pence was like, "Oh, this is the first time I've heard of it."
So does that mean that you're part of the spending?
He's just trying not to.
Well, first off, thanks for the question. Thanks for letting me respond to a reference to our administration's record.
Dude, don't be
I'm
an
incredibly
F-slur.
proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. I mean, in 4 short years, we rebuilt our military.
That's
we
not my
revived
concern.
our economy. We unleashed American energy. And we appointed 3 conservatives to the Supreme Court that gave the American people a new beginning for the right to life.
Okay, well,
Now,
Okay,
Martha, you asked earlier who's the most best prepared.
Yeah, but then you snaked on the president.
Well, you know what? I'll say this for Trump. Whenever he like goes and faces God, I hope that all like the unborn children he saved speak up in his favor. Because like you can what you can say what you want about Trump. He's the guy who got it done, and he's the guy who like Texas now has like 95% fewer abortions.
And I must tell you, with all due respect to all of my friends on the stage, and even to one that's probably looking on, I think unquestionably I am the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified and proven conservative in this race. I was a leader in the Congress of the United States. I led Indiana where we balanced budgets and had a AAA bond rating when I was governor. And as Vice President of the United States, we spent funding to backfill on the military cuts of the Obama administration, and then we were there in the worst pandemic in 100 years. All that being said, I was the first person in this race to say that we've got to deal with the long-term national debt issues. You got people on this
but it's not going to
talk about issues like Social Security and Medicare.
The only person that was actually would have actually done that was Ron
said,
Paul.
A president can't do everything. Well, I got news for you, Vivek. I've been in the
at this
hallway.
point, like the budget's so fucked, I just want them to bring in stuff like paid maternity leave. Because like paid maternity leave or like subsidized childcare would actually help like some evangelical Mormons.
I would also just want like just tax cuts for everybody.
Oh,
just
like
cut his taxes.
But like I'd rather like give money to like large families than like to what
it will put our nation back on the path to growth and prosperity and restore fiscal responsibility.
I don't think they actually do give that much money to Israel compared to Ukraine, but it's a good mean.
Responsibility, just as I did in Congress and as governor.
I mean, Asa Hutchinson literally has an Israeli flag pin above on his lapel.
You were named earlier. I'm going to get Vivek first.
We'll get to both of them.
This isn't that complicated, guys. Unlock American energy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. Put people back to work
burning coal.
by no longer paying them more to stay at home. Reform the U.S. Fed, stabilize the U.S. dollar, and go to war. The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations acting like a wet blanket on the economy. So I'm not sure I exactly understood Mike Pence's comment, but I'll let you all parse that out. For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus, and I'll deliver on it.
Let me explain it to you. Vivek, if I can. I'll go slower this time.
Vivek is kind of sleazy, but once again, at least he's like high energy. Ron DeSantis just doesn't want to be here.
Sometimes struggle with the reading comprehension.
He's just thinking, I really wish I was back in Florida when everybody loved me.
I actually pushed a Deficit Reduction Act. That was the last time we actually reduced the national debt in the United States when I was the leader of House Conservatives. I balanced budgets and cut taxes when I was governor. I mean, look, Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without experience. We need to bring
It's 30 seconds when you have a rebuttal, okay? And you are
Base Brown man will save the country.
Why are we in this mess? Part of it, and a major reason, is because how this federal government handled COVID-19 by locking down this economy. It was a mistake. It should have never happened. And in Florida, we led the country out of lockdown. We kept our state free and open. And I can tell you this, as your president, I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take somebody like Fauci.
The problem with DeSantis is he takes like good points and just makes them really cringe. Like because I agree with pretty much everything he says about social issues and like wokeness. He just uses it so often and in such a cringy way.
And coddle him. You bring Fauci in, you sit him down, and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
Oh, if he just said you are fucked, that would have been amazing.
Who even cares about Fauci in 2020?
I just want to respond to Mike for 1 second because he invoked me back. Listen, now that
Oh,
everybody's
do I
gotten
hear
their
your
memorized,
cat?
pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually
No,
have a
that's just
discussion.
my crucifix.
The reality and the fact of the matter
Oh,
is...
Is that one of yours?
Not really, Mike, actually. We're just going to have some fun tonight. And the reality is, you have a bunch of people, professional politicians...
Okay, we have a super chat. Cheaply Skate says, I would vote for Vivek if he vores Pence. Dude, it's
Please
not that
don't put
kind of
those
shit.
images.
Super PAC puppets following slogans handed over to them by their 400-page super PACs last week.
Now,
the real choice
Vivek
we face in this
started,
primary is this.
If you
Do you
painted
want a
half his
super
face
PAC
green,
puppet,
half of it
or
blue,
do you
and
want a
started
patriot
floating,
who
that would be
speaks the
pretty
truth?
cool.
Do you want incremental reform, which is what you're hearing about, or do you want revolution?
Okay.
And I stand on the side
Dude,
of
just
the
run as
American
Ganishka from
revolution.
Berserk.
We're
That
gonna
would
take
be
control
big.
back here.
We need everyone to have a moment on the economy.
Yeah.
I think
Did
that's
you ever
fair.
play Morrowind?
There are two people
No.
who have not. We're going to get back
Oh,
to that.
okay.
We are. There are two people who we have not heard from yet. So let's hear from Governor Burgum and then from Governor Hutchinson on the economy, sir.
Well, great. Thank you, Martha.
Literally
and
who?
Of course, I'm from a town
Who
of 300
is that?
people. It's a big deal to make it on
He's
this
the
stage
governor
with
of,
all
I think,
these folks.
South Dakota.
But
Oh, North Dakota. Okay, I got the mixed up. He's
Bump
probably
man.
actually
when
good
they,
on,
they
like,
were all wishing me
issues,
well,
but
and I think I took them a little too
he has
literally
no
when they said,
nobody
go to
ever
Milwaukee
here.
and break a leg. So, but I do want to say on this, we're missing something. We can't just talk about the Biden economy because the economy, energy, and national security are all tied together. Of course, we're paying too much for our energy in our state, in our country right now. But part of the reason why is because of the Biden policies on energy. We've got a plan right now, the $1.2 trillion of Green New Deal spending buried in the Inflation Creation
At my
Act is
workplace,
something that
the
is
boss
just
like has his
subsidizing
like
China.
3
If we're
dogs
gonna
there and
stop
like a whole bunch of
buying oil
cats
from the
because
Middle East and
he's
start
literally
buying
building an
batteries from China, we're
apartment
just trading
onto the
OPEC for
building
Sinopec.
so he can
And then
live there, so I can
belatedly-
see a bunch of dogs
belatedly,
almost every day.
The Biden administration says, no, we're going to put sanctions on
It's like
Russian
a
oil.
big Great
Well, we put
Pyrenees. He's
sanctions
very
on Russian
friendly.
oil. Well, then it's 20% off. Who's buying it? China. So if you buy a battery in this country, you buy a solar panel, it's being produced in a plant in China powered by coal, or it's being powered by oil and gas at 20% off. And every farmer in this country would like to buy diesel at 20% off, just like they're buying it in China.
Governor Hutchinson, quickly.
Okay, that was kind of a boring answer, but he actually sounded like he knew what he was talking about, so I'll give him that.
Thank you, Grant. Delighted to be here tonight. And let me just tell you that
We
I'm
aren't.
a pro-life governor from a conservative state that have a conservative record in which I
cares?
lowered taxes in
Who are
Arkansas
you?
as governor. I created a $2 billion surplus that I passed
$2
on
billion
to my
surplus.
successor. And I made sure that we shrunk the size of government. We have 14% fewer state employees in Arkansas after.
I just like to say, I'm sorry, guys, if I periodically make fun of the Southern accent. It's ingrained in me as a Canadian.
After I left government than when I took over
I
as
don't like
governor
it
8
either.
years ago.
No, I
tell
love
you,
it. I just
that's
it's just
what we
fun.
need in Washington D.C. We need
The-
somebody who
the
can
not
actually
southern
constrain
drawl.
the growth
Like,
of federal
when I was in
government
Georgia, you had
that
some people
can
that were
actually
super
reduce
friendly
the
that
size,
spoke
and
like
I've
that, and it was
pledged to
very
reduce
pleasant.
by 10% our federal non.
But Wings of
defense
Redemption
workforce.
makes it awful.
That's a specific.
I
pledge
love
to
the
make that
like
attacks
the Civil War
administrative
era,
state.
like
And let me applaud
Virginia
some of the
upper
business
class
partners that are
accent.
here that have had success in business.
I do declare,
Let me tell
son,
you,
that this
I've
is
been
the
a
most
federal
boring
prosecutor.
debate that I have
I've
seen
served our
since the
country
mid-1840s.
in terms of being head of the DEA.
I'm
in
just thinking
Homeland
of just doing
Security, in
Foghorn
times of
Leghorn.
crisis. And
Well,
while
that is what it
that's
is.
an
What I
experience
said.
that is important for the
Yeah.
future of our
So,
country.
I think called a
to be the
mid-Atlantic
president of the
accent.
United States that can lead with positive solutions and be held accountable.
The expense of
Darren
being
Mike-
degenerate, it's
To
the
get to, and I
accent that
promise we're going
Rarity
to get
has
to
in My Little
everyone
Pony.
if we play within the rules.
Shut
Okay,
up.
Next topic. More than 1,000 people are still unaccounted
Don't you
for
say
in
that
Hawaii,
ever again.
After the deadliest U.S. wildfire
Show's
in more than a
based, though.
century. Hawaii's governor
No.
and White House officials said that climate change.
Tell me you like. Tell me
amplified
you're gonna
the
like
cost
Steven
of human
Universe
error.
next.
And a
What's-
tropical
I don't even
storm
really know
hit
what Steven
California for
Universe
the
is.
first time in
It's
84
gay
years.
space rocks with
the
a little
ocean hit
Jew boy.
101 degrees off the coast of Florida, and in the last month, the heat wave in the Southwest.
Okay,
broke
I'm gonna
records,
be that
nearly
guy.
50
I've changed. I actually kind of do believe in global warming now. I know it's. I know it's like we're
Well,
supposed to be
any
against it.
the solutions that are. Here's the thing: is if you want to help the environment, stop mass immigration and go nuclear.
Well,
those would actually help.
I think like I think most of the things that would address global warming are things we probably should be doing anyways. Replanting like wilderness, like it's something I hate with a lot of conservatives, particularly from like the 2000s. The whole like rape and pillage the environment thing. As I've always said, if you're gonna be like a blood and soil guy, I mean, there's the soil, like the natural beauty. Yeah, well, not even just as a meme, but like I went out on the weekend to some of the provincial parks here. I remember Glenn Beck was like on a crusade about privatizing the national parks. That was like his big.
Oh, because he hated anything. He hated. I think he hated Teddy Roosevelt.
No, he also just hates the government. Like, dude, it's like less than 0.5% of the budget, and it actually produces something.
Years old. So Alexander Diaz from Young America's Foundation.
The help I do is, or at least what I have now is I donate to a wolf
young
conservation
number
center.
One issue is climate change. How will you, as both President of the United States and leader of the Republican Party, calm their fears that the Republican Party doesn't care
staring
about
into my
climate
soul.
change?
So we want to start on
We
this
won't.
with
Shut
a
up,
show
kid.
of hands. Do you believe in...
Oh, did you hear? So the Green Party in Germany are such massive F-slurs that they got rid of nuclear power and insisted on doing it even after like the whole Russia thing happened. So Germany's bringing coal power back.
Yeah, and they're like destroying forests to do that.
They're bringing coal power back because
What that country needs some serious help, is what I'm saying.
Could use a charismatic lead. Sorry, if I can just completely spurg out for a second. So, if I had an unlimited amount of time and money, I'd like to like write a light novel series called like Before I Knew It, I Was Reincarnated as a mid-20th century charismatic dictator of Germany whose goal was to restore his country to its former glory. And then it was going to be like a light novel where he gets reincarnated as Hitler, but Hitler's a cute anime girl.
There's literally a video game about. There's a dating sim for that.
Oh, there is? Okay.
Yes.
But like a light novel.
And human behavior is causing climate change. Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children. Let's have the debate. I mean, I'm happy to take it to start. Alexander?
So do you want to raise your hand or not?
I don't think that's the way to do. So let me just say to Alexander this. First of all, one of the reasons our country's decline is because of the way the corporate media treats Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said, no comment. Are you kidding me? As somebody that's...
Like, here's the thing with Ron. Like, he's right, but he just says it in such a stilted,
handle
cringy
disasters in Florida, you got to be activated.
He's
You got
better
to
at
be there. You
just
got to be
doing
present.
than
You got to be
talking,
helping
I
people
think.
who are doing this.
Because he's done a lot of good as governor of Florida, except for saying that you shouldn't be allowed to criticize Israel.
No, but like, Florida is like a red state now. It's not even a purple state. It's like a safe R state. He passed a lot of really good legislation. It's too bad because he is one of the best governors in the U.S., but he like ruined all of his political capital on this retarded run for president.
I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets because the climate change agenda is a hoax. Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax. And we have been...
This is kind of based him saying that.
And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is more people are dying of bad climate change
basically just told everybody else in the
than
state,
they are
"Fuck
of actual
you."
climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and paid for?
I'm gonna have to see some
Listen.
stats.
Wait, hold on.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
What?
And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Oh.
Give me a hug just like you did to Obama. Like me, just like you did to Obama, too. Give me that
the same type of amateur.
Hold on. Governor Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you
So,
bought and
Brett,
paid
what I
for?
would like to say is
No
the fact
puppet.
that
You're
I
the
think
puppet.
No, I
this
mean
is
you
exactly
like
why
she's
Margaret
one of the
Thatcher said,
most.
if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Oh, don't bring up Margaret Thatcher. Fuck Margaret Thatcher.
No, she literally said, if you want something done, ask a woman.
We do care about clean air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of. But there's a right way to
How?
do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions. That's where our problem is. And these green subsidies that Biden has put in, all he's done is help China, because he doesn't understand all these electric vehicles that he's done, what that does. Half of the batteries for electric vehicles are made in China. And so that's not helping the environment.
like-
You're putting money in.
It reminds me of like the whole like someone putting like the picture of the guy putting all the pins in like connecting the dots.
In
It's
China's
just-
pocket, and Biden did that. So, first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is these subsidies are not working. We also need to take on the international world and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop
We have to
polluting.
take
and
on
that's when we'll
international
start
fighting.
doing
Senator
it.
Scott, are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely.
Are you bought and paid for?
I'm sorry?
Are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely not. I mean, here's what the American people deserve.
Absolutely.
Is a debate about the issues that affect their lives. Going back and
I don't know,
forth
his
being
mouth is
childish
just
not
so
helpful to the
weird.
American people to decide on the next leader of our country.
His
Boy,
foot
wait a second.
of the state.
Number two,
You can bake
as a
it,
kid who grew up in a
broil
single-parent
it.
household,
Shake
mired
and
in
bake.
poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real for kids who were devastated by poverty, devastated by the challenges of life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone
What
what
state
she's
is
done
Tim
for
Scott
me
from again?
if
South
we
Carolina,
focus on
same
restoring
state
hope
as
and creating
Haley.
opportunities
It doesn't
and
make
protecting
sense,
America.
but they're
If
both
we
women.
want
And the same
the
state
environment
as-
to be
as
better,
Wings of
and we all
Redemption.
do, the best thing to do is to bring our
I
jobs
think it's those
home
troll
from
the
China.
channels that make
If
fun
we
of him
create
have really just
10
kind of run out of
million new
content. It's
jobs
just a
in our
lot more
Made in America
boring
plan,
now.
we will have
So-
a better
Like you
economy and a better environment.
So I think
I think he's
Tim
on, like,
Scott.
America,
Do it quickly.
There's some people who
Americans-
suggest that the
I'm gonna
establishment will
talk slow.
back him
So
after
America-
DeSantis inevitably dies.
That was quick. America
Or- yeah.
has cut our carbon footprint in half.
Literally
in the last
dies or
25
just, like,
years.
his
To
campaign?
places where
Just
they
lo-
are
just
continuing to
is
increase.
completely
Africa,
unavailable.
950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage?
As much as like I wish Trump was
Devastating
here
our
to
own
troll
economy.
him, he
Let's
probably
bring
did the
our
right
jobs
decision by going
home.
on
Yeah.
We
with
have
Tucker
a lot
Carlson.
of different
That
topics
probably
to get
got
to.
We
like
do. We thank you all. Thank
10
you, Senator
times the
Scott.
number of
So coming
views
up
this.
next, the
I think
candidates will
an hour
weigh
ago
in
he like turned
on what
himself
could be
in.
a
I don't know
defining issue
why
in the
exactly he would
2024
do that,
campaign.
but well, no, it's
The
because it's a
Republican debate
publicity stunt,
continues
obviously.
moments away.
I want him to like give a troll face to the mug shot, like smile
I
at
might
point.
see what it is. I'm gonna see if it's on Twitter. If
Like no, like Trump. You know Trump. Trump will like be selling T-shirts of his mug shot. Like
oh yeah, because why wouldn't you?
States, there are more swing state referendums that are coming up as we head into the elections as well on this.
okay, I got 10 times.
So, Governor Haley, what do you say to your party and
What?
to your state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well,
Base.
especially the impact on women suburban voters across this country?
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children, so I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal, because it's personal for every
Oh,
woman
shut
and
the
man.
fuck up.
Now it's been put in the hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree that we are not going to put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty if she gets an abortion?
Yeah, well,
let's treat
okay.
this like the... Like
No, YouTube, of course. I don't. okay, so the first half of that was actually pretty good because you're never going to get a federal abortion ban. I do think you could maybe. So if you like look at polls, very few people actually support late term abortion. Also, stuff like being pro post birth abortion, like Obama, is not
A
popular.
respectful issue that it is, and humanize the situation and stop demonizing the situation.
Brett, Governor, hold on. You're not mentioned, Vice President Pence. Governor DeSantis, you signed a 6-week abortion ban in Florida.
Yeah, it was
one of your biggest financial backers said that you need to, quote, shift to get moderates or you will lose. What do you say
Trump
to
didn't
him
smile. He just
and
kind of
others who
pouted.
say politically that is a tough thing to
There
sell
is the actual
nationally?
mugshot now.
Well, I would say we sold the biggest election landslide victory in the history of the Republican Party in the state of Florida in 2022. That's what I did. We can win. But second of all, look, you got to do what you think is right. I believe in a culture of life. I was proud to sign the heartbeat bill. I remember one of the most impactful moments of my life was when I heard the heartbeat of my oldest daughter in my wife's womb, and then saw the sonograms of all 3 of my kids. What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. I know a lady in Florida named Penny. She survived multiple abortion attempts. She was left discarded in a pan. Fortunately, her grandmother saved her and brought her to a different hospital.
I'm not saying that like because he's cringy. I'm saying that because that's fucking awful.
Yeah,
we're better than what the Democrats are selling.
One of your videos on
we are
abortion
not
is
going to
like,
allow abortion all the
the
way
reason
until
why
birth,
probably a
and
large
we will
number
hold
of
them
people are
accountable for their
pro-choice.
extremism.
But just to be clear,
is because like if they realized they were wrong and realized like how many abortions were happening every day, like it would be the most fucked up
it's
thing.
like something from a fucking horror movie. Like they kill this baby and throw their like still living corpse into a bin. Like that's just fucked.
It's a truth too hard for them to accept.
Then you have to accept that your society has killed like tens of millions of babies. I don't know.
Would you sign
I put up Trump's mugshot.
a 6-week ban federally?
I don't know. Is it?
I'm going to stand on the side of life. Look, I understand Wisconsin is going to do it different than Texas. I understand Iowa and New Hampshire are going to do different. But I will support the cause of life as governor and as president.
Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head.
Have a national.
Hold on, Senator. Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head.
Well, look, I'm not new to this cause. After I gave my life to Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I opened up the book and I read.
Based.
Before I formed you
I
in the
know,
womb, I
but
knew you.
But it's also
And
cringe.
see, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life. And I knew from that moment on, the cause of life had to be my cause. And I've been a champion for life in the Congress, a champion for life as governor and as vice president. And to be honest with you, Nikki, you're my friend, but consensus is the opposite of leadership. When the Supreme Court returned this question to the American people, they didn't just send it to the states only. It's not a states only issue, it's a moral issue. And I promise you, as President of the United States, the American people will have a champion for life in the Oval Office. Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed? A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by 70% of the American people, but it's going to take unapologetic leadership that stands on principle and expresses compassion for women.
I'm going to be honest, that actually was a pretty decent answer. Pence is actually pretty good at social and cultural issues.
He's just the problem is he's just a snake.
Yeah, he's a snake.
In crisis pregnancies,
I was going to let this
that
run.
as
I'll be
President
back.
of the United States.
He called my name, so I will
she
respond to
did.
that.
You did.
Seconds. So first of all, I will say it is in the hands of the people, and that's where it should be. But when you're talking about a federal ban, be honest with the American people. We haven't had 45 pro-life senators in over 100 years, so no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state laws. Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation legislation.
I'm gonna have to see
that.
it.
After a baby is capable of experiencing pain.
It's just going to take leadership.
Hold on.
70% of the Senate does not. You have to be honest with the
We have to
American
have
people.
a 15-week limit.
Let's get Governor Bergman for one minute here. But the Supreme Court did overturn Roe v. Wade. And the result of that decision was that it went back to the states. So that's where it is right now. So as I understand it, you are not in favor of a federal ban. What do you say about the states? There's about 5 of them, including New Jersey, I think a few others, that allow abortion up until the time of birth, though. If you were president, would you be able to abide that?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro-life governor of a very pro-life state. And this issue is, of course, very important. But I am on the record, and I stand behind that we should not have a federal abortion ban. We should not. And the reason why we shouldn't is very simple. It's the 10th Amendment in the Constitution. In the Constitution, which the states created the federal government, not the other way around, it says that there were certain duties allowed to the federal government delegated to them by the states. The rest are left to the states,
life,
or importantly, or to the people. We need to get back to
Also,
freedom
who gives a
and
fuck
liberty for
about
the
the
people in this country.
Constitution?
And we can't have Republicans
Oh,
fight
yeah,
for 50
Argent isn't
years
back
for this
yet.
great
How's it
cause
going?
to return it back to the states. And then
Sorry,
the
what?
next
Nothing.
day they turn around and go, no, the feds should do that, because the feds are stepping into people's lives, they're stepping into people's businesses over and over. If we say that the feds should be in on this one, where do we stop? I say that we follow the Constitution, and this is returned to the states. This is where it should be.
But Governor Bergman, you signed a 6-week ban. Time out. You signed a 6-week ban.
What is a woman
Governor
even
Bergman,
doing
you
on
signed
the
a 6-week
stage?
ban. So you're saying federally, it's all going to go to the states.
Yes, and what is going to work in New York will never work in North Dakota, and vice versa. That's
Governor
why 50
Asa
states.
Hutchinson,
That's why
right
50
here.
states.
This is too important of an issue that I have to address. First of all, the Supreme Court gave it back to the elected representatives, whether it's the states or whether it's the United States Congress.
That's
so there
right.
is authority, and that's why President Biden is pushing for a Democrat proposal, which is, in essence, abortion on demand through the term. So they have their extreme position at a national level. It's most likely going to be addressed in the states, but it's certainly fine for it to be addressed at the national level as well. Arkansas has the record of being the most pro-life state in the nation. I signed 30 pro-life pieces of legislation while I was governor. And every state can determine a different outcome here. And it is the most important issue for women and for the unborn child and for our country that we get this right. It's going to be a continued debate. Let's talk about it in terms of compassion, in terms of protecting the life, and also understanding how we have to enhance adoption services, how we have to enhance maternal care. Those things we've done in Arkansas and are important for our nation's future.
There are a lot of issues that are very important. Senator, I'll let you weigh in.
We cannot let states like California, New York, and Illinois have abortions on demand up until the day of birth. That is immoral, it is unethical, it is wrong. We must have a president of the United States who will advocate and fight for, at the minimum, a 15-week limit. I am 100% pro-life conservative. I have a 100% pro-life record. I got to tell you, though, we must fight for life. Our Declaration of Independence says our Creator gave us inalienable rights that include life. That is a list. That is an issue we must solve. We can't leave
Although
it
I
to
feel
Illinois.
bad. I
We
feel
can't
bad
leave
for
it
us
to
kind of
Minnesota. We
groaning
can't leave it to
because
Illinois. We must
groaning
solve
at that is
issue
something like
with a
Kyle
15-week
Kalinske would
limit
do, and
at
I
a
don't
minimum.
want to be anything like that.
No, it's
F-slur.
just it's part of it is just a lot of these guys are very disingenuous and they don't actually vote
All
this way.
pro-life, What I would love is for someone to ask Biden and Kamala Harris, are they for 38 weeks? Are they for 39 weeks? Are they for 40 weeks? Because that's what the media needs to be asking.
All right, another issue is America and the crime crisis, the homelessness crisis. American cities are in
We'll
decline.
just do what they
People are
said in
moving
Britain. We
out
plan to cut
as
the homeless in
drugs,
half
crime
by
move
in 10 years.
There are problems accelerated.
Have you seen that
They
picture?
did accelerate during the pandemic and are still rising.
It's like on a subway,
Murders
like
in Los
Conservative
Angeles,
Party
New York, Chicago,
ad was
all
like,
up
we plan to
30%
cut homeless in
between
half
2019 and
by
2022.
like in 5
Homelessness
years,
is
and
up
obviously what they mean
11%,
is the number, but it
largest jump
sounds
in
like
recorded history.
they're gonna cut
Vice
homeless
President
people
Pence,
literally
a
in
lot
half
of
the
this
stop.
began in the COVID era. How much of what we're seeing happening around this country is a result of those COVID lockdowns, and is your administration in part to blame for how we got here?
Well, I think what's in part to blame is the Democrats have been talking about defunding the police for the last 5 years.
Well,
we
the
ought
fuck
to be
does that have to do
funding
with
law
homeless?
enforcement, particularly in our major cities, at unprecedented levels. I mean, it's extraordinary to think about the violence that's claiming innocent lives literally every week in every major city in this country. Yeah. And yet Democrats and liberal prosecutors in major metropolitan areas continue
I'm just going to have to apologize. I'm just going to have to play this.
We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement.
Hello?
We love our military, they're important.
I was just playing something. I guess it didn't.
Oh, I couldn't hear it.
I was just playing We Love Our Cops.
Fanciful agendas to do bail reform and go easy. What we need is strong commitment to law enforcement. We need leadership in Washington, D.C.
TMS said literally like a boomer, like a zoomer. And I'm waiting for him to say,
also say it's about opportunity.
this is straight busting no
don't
cap
know that
on
those
count
Trump
for
Pence
real,
tax
for real.
cuts that we got signed into law go away at the end of 2025 if we don't have a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate. When I'm president of the United States, we're actually going to cut taxes further. We're going to extend those tax cuts, and we're going to close the Federal Department of Education, block grant all that funding back to the states. With a growing economy and educational choice and law enforcement, we will bring our cities back.
Governor Christie, another issue. This weekend here in Milwaukee, reports say there were 30 shootings, and a number of them including kids. Add that to the big increase in school shootings around the country. Democrats
says,
blame
and
this
I was
crisis
responsible
on
for
easy
29
access
of
to
them.
guns. They also blame Republicans for gun control legislation. What would President Christie do?
You know, I'm proud of the fact, Brett, that I'm the only person along with Governor Hutchinson up on this stage who's actually running United States Attorney's Office. I ran the 5th largest office in America in a state where there is significant urban crime. And the problem is not
okay, guys.
solved.
So we're gonna have to take a musical interlude. I'm sorry, I just had to
buy more money. The problem is that these prosecutors in these localities in the states are refusing to do their job and to arrest violent criminals. So what a President Christie would do is appoint an attorney general who would instruct each of the 93 U.S. attorneys that they are to
form
take
death
over
squads.
the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We have plenty of room in the federal
Well, it'd
prisons
be like
to
Reagan
lock up these
Republican to
violent
say,
criminals
like, hey,
and clean up
Singapore's
what's going
based,
on
do that.
all across this country in these individual cities. Secondly, what we need to make sure that each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out a fake application, a false application for a gun permit, and then is facing it.
How about when his lawyer pretended to be like somebody, be part of the prosecution team to get evidence removed?
10-year.
I want one of these
mandatory
people to talk about how
minimum,
they're
which
going to
was
finally
mandated
bring
by
Chris Chan back in
legislation
jail.
sponsored
where
by
he
his
belongs.
father. And then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges. We're telling people that the law.
It's like we're gonna abolish the police. So you mean we can have like local protection units like formed by citizens? No.
Law doesn't apply to everybody.
No, you're gonna
In the
have
first
local
administration,
Soviet.
he would go to jail for 10 years.
Struggle session. You know.
So I mean, I think a lot of conservatives would be okay if they could handle justice themselves.
Private police.
Yeah.
Do about guns.
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country and we know how to fix it. The question is, do we actually have the spine to do it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder.
Just arrest everybody and put them
and
in
we
jail.
also have a mental health epidemic in this
Yeah,
country.
that's true.
Just over the same period that we have closed mental health institutions, we have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will.
Thing is, we're not addressing
It's
the
not just
causes
drugging
of
up people in those
mental
psychiatric institutions
illness.
with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here too. We're in the middle of a national identity
Christian.
crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation. The problem in our country right now, the reason we have that mental health epidemic, is that people are so hungry for purpose and meaning at a time when family, faith, patriotism, hard work have all disappeared. What we really need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also how we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime across this country.
Based Brown man actually gave a good answer.
Governor DeSantis, really quickly. Governor DeSantis.
We don't have an identity crisis with that. We're not looking for a
He
new
just said we
national
don't-
identity. The American people are the most faith-filled, freedom-loving,
Oh, shut
idealistic,
up.
hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have, some others like you may have on the stage, it's Morning in America speech. It is not Morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the fact that we're in an internal, sort of cold cultural civil war. And we have to
Equating the
recognize
American
that
people with the failed government in Washington, D.C. We just need government as good as our people again.
So, let me just finish addressing that slogan because I don't know what that slogan means. We need to shut down the administrative state. That's actually how we translate it.
Crime has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis. How do you stop crime?
Well, actually, crime's at a 50-year low in Florida. We're happy with that. Well, the statewide, it's a 50-year low. And so here's the thing. These hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these radical left-wing district attorneys. They get into office and they say they're not going to prosecute crimes they disagree with. The inmates start running the asylum. There's one guy in this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had two of these district attorneys in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their job, I removed them from their posts. They are gone. And as president,
Like, and once again, here's the issue with Ron. Like, he's right. He's 100% right that, like, DeSantis is corrupting the U.S. judicial system even worse. But he just does it in such a cringy way.
as president, we are going to go after all of these people because they are hurting the quality of life and they are victimizing innocent
Just
people
do what what's his
in every
name
corner
did.
of this
Just
country. and
lock
it
up
will
like
stop
everyone
when I
with
get
a
into
tattoo.
office.
It will
One more here before the
save America.
But Brett and Martha, I just thought it was interesting. You asked your question about the problems we're having in big cities. Nobody ever asked the question of what about the crime wave in small
looks
towns?
like Bert
Because in a small
from
town,
Sesame
neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other.
He's
If
got,
a
like, the
farmer
long
gets sick,
nose,
everybody
he's got
comes
the
together
big
and helps them get the
eyebrows.
crop off. There's accountability, there's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road
Yeah,
back.
but dude, no one cares about. But the small towns. Okay, so this is actually an issue I really hate. Is conservatives believing that they're just going to always be able to win by solely appealing to rural folk, and to a certain extent suburban. Like, I get that you're not going to win cities, but I feel like in presidential elections and governor elections, if you could make cities go from being like 99% Democrat to like 90%, that might help out a lot. But like, as someone who lives in a city, conservatives just generally don't have anything to offer me.
To get this country on track again.
Governor Hutchinson?
Like, I think Trump should go to Philly, go to like some places, and if like Antifa shows up and attacks you, then Like that's good optics. I mean, I think if Trump tried
in Minecraft.
No. I know. Well, I'm not talking about violence on our side. Like if Trump goes to like a liberal area or university and Antifa or some other weirdos show up and attack him, I think that looks good for him, and I think it makes them look bad.
As former head of the DEA, I understand the drug crisis in America. And right now, whenever you look at the challenges in our inner city.
Oh, by the way, just for people watching, I'd recommend there's a documentary, docudrama Netflix put out called Painkiller about the creation and selling of OxyContin. It's about the Sacklers and their how they made like $100 billion off of getting America addicted to opium.
There's 3 simple words that would be helpful. 1, enforce the law when it comes to crime. Secondly, let's deal with the challenge of fentanyl. And it's both about stopping the fentanyl coming from Mexico, but it's also about education of our young people, making sure that we have the tools that are needed for addiction counseling. That's what we
Can't we just kill drug dealers? Like, let's be honest.
Expanded in Arkansas as well.
Yeah, I mean,
whenever you look at the
zero
underlying
tolerance
challenge of America, though, no one likes to see it.
I mean, like it's. I feel if you've sold like heroin to a kid, you probably deserve a bullet. I'm sorry, YouTube, if that's like too edgy, but if you're getting like teenagers addicted to heroin, you kind of
America with smash and
don't
grab
belong on this
in our
planet.
inner cities. As president of the United States,
you're basically
that will
doing the
stop.
same thing pedophiles
It starts
do.
at the top with
Oh,
respect
yeah,
for our justice system that a former president who's
You're
under
corrupting and
indictment has
poisoning
undermined
a minor
by attacking judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system and saying he's aggrieved. And so we have to have respect for our justice system and the rule of law. And
Yeah,
it
but your
starts
justice
at the
system
top.
is shit. The justice system is literally charging
Jailing
Trump with
political opponents. Yeah.
No, like Trump literally in the evidence, and I went through the whole indictment, said Trump made a tweet. Like it was tweets, it was texts, it was meeting with public officials.
With the president of the United States.
Thank you. Hold on.
Take a break. So, speaking of that, right now you are looking live at Fulton County Jail, where former President Donald Trump will be processed tomorrow. So next, the candidates will have an opportunity to talk about the coming trials of Donald Trump.
I don't know. I just think just kill drug dealers. And
I think Trump should probably get Chris Chan's lawyer because he managed to get him out of jail.
I think that would make the world a better place.
Do you trust our government and where the economy is?
Here's another thing, and this is how fucked the left is. They're against killing pedophiles, but they're okay with killing babies. Like, just think about that for a second. Like, that's the whole, like, because there's that thing they say, oh, you're pro-life, but you support the death penalty. And I'm like, so in your mind, like, a serial killer and a baby have the same moral worth.
Well, one of them inconveniences a woman's ability to have casual sex. The other is
true.
a serial killer.
That's very true.
For election day, either early,
Also,
in
what
person,
is a woman?
or by mail. Go to bankyourvote.com to sign up and commit to voting early.
That's how we're going to beat the Democrats at their own.
Oh, this is an initiative Trump starting to try to take advantage of early voting and ballot harvesting and like.
Former Navy SEAL platoon commander.
Following your policy?
IRA to
I had
support
too
the
many
eventual
chicken
Republican
spring
nominee.
rolls. Oh no!
If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise
I
your
would
hand
break him
if you
out
would.
of prison.
Yeah! Christie didn't.
Just hold on. So just be clear, Governor Christie, you were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand.
No, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing this.
And
Not
I know
this.
you did.
He doesn't have the energy.
What's
And
the
look, here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay? Now,
what conduct?
Now, whether
You mean like being morbidly obese?
or not, whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
Dude, like, let's look at who's filled the office.
Wait, is he saying how Trump is acting?
Yeah. Dude, this is
What is
like
he
we had like the bitter clinger Obama, we had Bush, we had Clinton, you had LBJ. Like, the office is kind of fucked. Like, it's like when all these people were like, there are some people who were like, oh, but it's awesome that like Queen Elizabeth died. Like, you're ruled by Charles now. We're like, I'm like, dude, you guys are ruled by fucking Biden. Like, I'll take.
Also, like Pat Robertson. Same thing. Like Pat Robertson died recently, and of course people are celebrating it. And it's like that same thing with Queen Elizabeth, right? Is you really got one over somebody who one of the most famous people, the past century, surrounded by loved ones, incredibly powerful, in a place she loved at like 96. Oh boy.
It's like, I'd much rather be ruled by Elizabeth, God rest her soul.
This is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you raised your hand supporting.
No, I'd like to get in and respond. Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact. And Chris Christie, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against
I just completely blown out.
Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country.
It's
they
true.
Could just change the channel to
100%.
MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong. We have to end the weaponization of justice in this country.
Now look here. Look, listen.
Let me tell you something.
I'm sorry, 30 seconds covered.
You make me laugh because you sit here in an answer. You sit here in an answer right.
Oh.
You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead, Governor Christie.
Hold on, Governor Christie.
Hold on.
Well, so listen, the more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about.
Good.
No,
This
but like
is what I'm
literally,
saying.
if you've seen any of Christie's speeches, it's like him rambling on unhinged for like 2 hours about how much he hates.
So let's just get through this section. Governor Christie.
You sit here talking about how you want to stand up for the rule of law.
Yes.
And law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book,
No, it
you have
can.
much different things to say about Donald Trump.
No, but
than
it has to be selective.
You're saying here tonight.
That's not true.
Well, it is very true.
That is not
It's
true.
very true. I read it,
Because
and
there's
I
a
know.
difference
Look,
between bad behavior and illegal behavior, Chris. And you as a prosecutor should know better.
Yeah, you know what? I know a lot better.
There's a difference between bad behavior. And
I know a lot better than you do. You've never done it like you've never done anything to try to advance the interests of this government except to put yourself forward as a candidate tonight. And here's the thing. We've stood up for law and order. I did it as U.S. attorney.
No, you didn't.
I did it as governor.
No, you
and
didn't.
I am not going to bow to anyone when we have a president of the United States who disrespects the Constitution. He said... He said,
get your MSNBC contributor.
He said,
Martha, we have to call out the truth.
Martha, it's important to say that the president said, Donald Trump said, it's okay to suspend the Constitution.
Yes.
Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend, not suspend. I will always stand up for our Constitution regardless of the political pressure.
We have another question for you. We're going to get everyone in on this issue, but I have another question.
No, if you read the indictment, it literally lists stuff that it's based on the presumption of innocence doesn't exist. It's based on free speech not existing. It's based on the fact that like lawyers can't offer advice to their. It's just
Another question. Hold on, you will. All right. So
advance the interests of this government. Yeah. So they're pointing that out. I guess like he's meant the advancing the interests of the deep state.
President Trump's former vice president is on this stage tonight. He has faced hecklers on the campaign trail over his actions on January the 6th. On that day, the vice president moved forward with the certification of the election.
Uh-oh.
So do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing, Senator Scott? Do you believe he did the right thing?
Absolutely. He did the right thing. Number one. Number two, we should be asking ourselves a bigger question about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. When I'm president, the first thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland. Second thing I'll do, fire Christopher Wray, because we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that, no one has confidence in our justice system. 17% of Republicans have confidence in our Department of Justice. Here's why. We keep seeing not only the weaponization of the Department of Justice against political opponents, but also against parents who show up at school board meetings. They're called, under this DOJ, they're called domestic terrorists.
Firing Christopher Wray to shut down the FBI. Actually have the courage to get it right.
Based!
What did he say?
Shut down the FBI.
Oh, okay.
In addition to that,
That's so
Is that what Tim Scott say that?
No, that's what Ram Swami yelled. He basically just said Tim Scott was a pussy and he just like nuked the FBI.
The pause
Life
face.
Activist homes with guns drawn because this DOJ uses their power, uses their authority, not just against political opponents, but against conservatives and conservative causes. It is.
No, it's also because you guys are F-slurs whenever you get into office and you don't do that. And it's why you lose.
For change in America.
This is going to be a very bad take or something, but if they really wanted to go after the FBI, angle they should take is, look, the FBI killed MLK, and the thing is, that's absolutely 100% true that they did. You can disagree and dislike MLK, but you can also agree, yeah, the FBI killed it.
Greatest nation on God's green earth.
We have an important question still to
Do you
answer.
believe
I
that
thought
Mike
Israel
Pence
was
did
the
the right
greatest
thing on
nation.
January 6th?
So here's what we need to do. We need to end the weaponization of these federal agencies.
But that's not
I
the
will do
question.
that.
That's not the question.
I know, but here's the thing. This election is not about January 6th of 2021. It's about January
is.
20th of 2025 when the next president
9/11
is gonna take
times
office.
1,000.
I know what the Democrats would like to do. They want to talk about all these other issues, but we've got to focus on your future. We've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country. I learned in the military, I was assigned with U.S. Navy SEALs in Iraq, that you focus on the mission.
Okay, Cheaply Skate sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Why did Ron not wait till 2028 so that he could run on pardoning Trump? Trump will be jailed and he will lose in 2024. I don't know about that, but likely. And therefore you will gain the Trump votes. Because he's retarded. Like, he was the heir to Trump. Everyone was saying Ron is going to be the next guy. He's the next Trump. He's like a more polished version. And then he just threw his hat in this race that he had no business to. He destroyed, like, what was a very, like, secure political career. Like, maybe he could have run for Senate or something like that.
Above all else, you can't get distracted. So Republicans, we've got to look forward, and we've got to make sure that we're bringing the message that can win in November 2024.
Vice President Pence, what do you think, Vice President?
Is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on this stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day. There's no more important duty. So answer the question.
I've answered this before.
So yes.
Why are we? Mike did his duty. I got no beef with him. But here's the thing: is this what we're going to be focusing on
I'm relieved.
going forward? The rehashing of this? I'll tell you,
Governor
the
DeSantis,
Democrats would love that, and they will win if we
Governor
let them get away
DeSantis,
with it. I'm not letting Biden hang out.
Okay, wow. Ron said something. once again, most of his talking points are pretty good. Like, yeah, why do you keep bringing this shit up? Like, it's bad optics.
Yeah. And it's, just trying to distract from the fact that people can't afford food and groceries and gas anymore.
Or, like, even talking about, like, the Justice Department, like, what they're doing to Trump, like, that is kind of relevant. But who gives a fuck? January, like, it's just so...
So it is a factor in the GOP primary. Governor Hutchinson,
who cares?
You did not raise your hand.
I did not raise my hand because there's an important issue we as a party have to face. And over a year ago, I said that Donald Trump was morally disqualified from being president again as a result of what happened on January 6th. More people are understanding the importance of that, including conservative legal scholars who says he may be disqualified under the 14th Amendment from being president again
that's not
as a result of the insurrection. This is something that could disqualify him under our rules. And
how is it? It's like the most G-slur insurrection ever. There was no plan to seize the levers of power. It was literally just a bunch of like boomers who got pissed off and rioted. Like it's how
we're suspiciously able to get in pretty easily.
Like compared to like what Wagner did, that's like an actual. It was an incompetently done insurrection, but it was like at least an actual attempt at one.
Well, maybe after we all see the Napoleon movie, we'll know how to do a coup d'etat.
What I want to have happen is Trump is in jail, and he wins the election, and he governs the country from his jail cell like a cartel boss.
Under the Constitution.
Yes.
And so, obviously, I'm not
like
going to
what is it like a
who's been convicted
who
of a serious
has the
felony
thing called the La Catedral? Was that Pablo Escobar?
Under our Constitution, and that's consistent with RNC rules.
Let's do
I
that.
hope everybody would agree with me.
That also just sounds like something that would be in a GTA game.
I've already been on it, Vice President.
Like it's just such a lame. Like at least the Chaz lasted a couple weeks. Like the Chaz was super fucking lame, but. Oops, shit. Sorry, I accidentally.
What did you do?
No, let me just.
Every one of them was filled. There would still be 2,500 more children out.
Convicted of a serious felony, or who is disqualified under
I
the
think
Constitution, and that's consistent with RNC rules.
Who said that we need to suspend the Constitution to put forward his political career. Mike Pence said no, and he deserves credit for it.
Okay. Governor Haley, we haven't heard from you on this. Do you agree?
It's fucking base.
Do you agree that Vice President Pence did the right thing that day or not?
I do think that Vice President Pence did the right thing, and I do think that we need to give him credit for that. But what I will also tell you is, look, I mean, when it comes to whether President Trump should serve or not, I trust the American people. Let them vote. Let them decide. But what they will tell you is that it is time for a new generational conservative leader. We have to look at the fact that 3/4 of Americans
all the poll shows do not agree with
Trump
you,
and
lady.
Biden. And we have to face the fact that Trump
So
is
after
the most
many years, I'm
disliked
finally
politician
playing
in
my way
America.
through.
We can't win a
So
general
after-
election that way.
So, Real American Politics said that they should just impose age limits on all these things, and I actually don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, or at least like have some form of competency test.
Happy to answer the question. Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. But I would say you started off the top of this hour saying we're going to talk about China, Ukraine, education. We are. China is the #1 threat to our country, and every minute that these 8 candidates spend talking about the past instead about the future is time that is just you know who loves it? Biden loves it, but China loves it when we're talking about the past.
Okay, as promised, we were going to spend a few questions on it, let people say what they wanted to say, and now, indeed, we are moving on.
The U.S. has committed nearly 77.
Can I speak on this issue? I was kind of involved.
No.
You answered on this.
You did say something.
The question was about you, dumbass.
No one cares, Pence. No one
Mike, why don't you
cares.
say this? Join me in making a commitment that on day one you would pardon Donald Trump. I'm the only candidate on the stage who had the courage to actually say it. That is how we move our nation forward.
I don't know
and and turn the page
assume that
forward. That's
Donald
exactly
Trump
right.
will be convicted of these crimes.
You should be able to make a commitment. The same justice system that was this
Vivek,
corrupt.
Here's the difference between you and me.
Yeah, I'm not a professional politician. That's the difference. Who can answer a question?
I've actually given pardons when I was governor of the state of Indiana. It usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted. So, look, if I'm president of the United States...
Trump has to say he's sorry for reading classified documents on the toilet.
The states will give fair consideration to any pardon
You did
request.
that?
But if I may...
No, that was one of the things he was indicted for, was like having classified documents in his mansion. And they're like, some of the documents were in his bathroom. And they're like, okay, so.
If I may.
Like, who cares?
You know, it's not about looking back at January 2021. It's about January 20th, 2017. I put my left hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. I raised my right hand.
Oh.
And I took an oath.
Ronald
to
Reagan,
support and defend the
Republican.
Constitution of
Dude,
the
no one
United
cares.
States. And it ended with a prayer, so help me God. It was a promise that I made to the American people, but I also made it to my Heavenly Father.
Oh,
Every day for 4 years, I sought to keep that oath.
It's so
And everyone on this stage needs to make it clear
What do you
whether or not
think,
they'll do the same
Who
if
do
they
you
earn
wanna
this
vote for
job and the
president?
confidence of the American people.
She's a monarchist.
Now, look, I've made it clear.
Gay.
I had
I mean,
hoped
Giesler.
that the issues surrounding the 2020 election and the controversies around January 6th had not come to this, had not come to criminal proceedings.
Here's a good girl.
I would rather they had been resolved by the American people and the American people alone. But no one's above the law, and President Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence that
Argent, but
every
I think
American
I'm
is
more of a
entitled
dog
to,
person than a cat
and we
person.
will make sure and extend
morph
that
into
to
more of
him.
a cat
But the
person?
American people deserve to know
Sorry?
What
that
did
the
you say about
president
cats?
asked me.
I said I think
request
I'm
that
more
I
of a dog
reject
person
or
than a
return
cat
votes unilaterally.
Oh,
or
no,
counter
it's
that
it's
vice
fine.
president-
The thing is, like, okay, so the whole cats versus dog debate, it depends a lot about what your lifestyle is like and where you live. Because I kind of feel in a lot of cases, if you want to have a dog and have it properly, you need like a house and a backyard, and you need to be able to. Sorry. You need to be able to take the dog for a walk, like, every day.
It makes it. It's kind of weird because I have like dogs by proxy. As in, like, when I was still living with my parents, I helped raise our dog there, partially. At like when he was a puppy, and then there's a bunch of dogs at work I can go see, and I also I've symbolically adopted a red wolf, so I got that.
No, it's just I think a lot of people probably have dogs who shouldn't, like, because they live in apartments and they don't have time to walk them.
Sure. I mean, I'd probably get a cat too, but
no, I'm just saying it's like, I think they're just very different. Dogs can be the ultimate pet. It's much more of a lifestyle. Whereas if you have a cat, you just have to put out like food and occasionally pet them, and they'll be happy.
In American history had ever exercised or taken. He asked me to put him over the Constitution. And I chose the Constitution, and I always will. I had no right.
I chose the Republic. I chose democracy.
I have no right to overturn the election.
Your new empire.
2024.
You have no right to have ethics in video game journalism.
Now we are moving on to other issues. The U.S. has committed nearly $77 billion in aid to the Ukraine
Oh,
war.
it's got to be way more.
The administration is now asking Congress for $24 billion more. Regardless of that, the specifics of that plan, is there anyone on...
What kind of dog would you want to get?
Golden Retrievers are like the best. So I'd want like a yellow, like that, or a yellow lab. Those are like the best dogs.
I like chocolate labs a lot too.
They're very good. They're very good boys.
Like the sweetest, silliest dog is golden doodles are really nice. Anything mixed with a poodle or a golden retriever tends to be pretty good.
Stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine.
We would not support it.
Based.
I mean, I would have Europe step up and do that.
Shut up, Ron.
Mr. Ramaswamy, but you're saying you would not too, Governor DeSantis?
I will have Europe pull their weight. Right now, they're not doing that.
You would not support
and I think
more
we need
funding.
to do, and I think support should be contingent on them doing it, and I would have support in China to be able to take China and do what we need to do with China.
He's seeing which way
Mr.
the wind
Ramaswamy,
blows.
You would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine.
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America. We are driving Russia further into China's hands. The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face, and I find it offensive.
Okay, sorry. Cheaply Skate says Reagan is beneath the furry in terms of dignity. I wouldn't go that far. Reagan's just very overrated, and there's really no way to evaluate his legacy because of all the.
Or is he talking about Reagan Republican?
Maybe.
We have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the
Okay, that was based.
outside of Chicago or Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first. Secure our own border instead of somebody else's. And the reality is, this is also how we project strength by making America strong at home.
All right, we heard the names. Governor Christie first.
All right, look, I did go to Ukraine, and I went to Ukraine because I wanted to see for myself what Vladimir Putin's army was doing to the free Ukrainian people. And let me tell you, I want you all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled. And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers and fathers, and brought back to Russia to be programmed to fight their own families. They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears.
Okay, so the Russian side to that story is that they evacuated like 20,000 kids from a war zone and moved them back into a safer part of Russia that wasn't being shelled on a daily basis.
And were they children from like the Donetsk region?
I believe so.
So actually, just Russian children then.
Yeah, so that is the claim. I haven't looked into it, but it's a little more complicated than Russia just kidnapped a bunch of kids. Their argument, and I think it does at least theoretically make sense, is that they were taking they were moving kids out of a war zone into a safe part of the country, which I mean the British did that during World War II, where they sent a lot of the kids to the countryside.
Shot people in the back of the head, men, and then gone into those homes and raped the daughters and the wives.
Hillary did that.
Wives who were left as widows and orphans. This is the Vladimir Putin. This is the Vladimir Putin who Donald Trump called brilliant and a genius. If we don't stand up against this type of autocratic killing in the world, we will be next.
You were mentioned.
Governor Haley, we'll come back.
Vice President Pence was mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. Anybody that thinks that we can't solve the problems here in the United States and be the leader of the free world,
No, you can't.
has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth.
Sleeply Skate says, "What's your favorite schizo take?" I don't know. We'll see that. But but Pence, it's been proven time and again that they can't do that. It's not possible.
You have the empire or the nation. You pick one.
We've been the leader of the free world and the arsenal of democracy for years. The Reagan doctrine years ago made it clear.
How did that
We said,
work
if you're
out?
willing to fight the communists on your soil,
It
we'll give you
led
the
to
means to fight
9/11.
them there so our troops don't have to fight them. Vivek, if we do the giveaway that you want to give to Putin to give him his land, it's not going to be too long before he rolls
Yeah, it is
across
his
a
land.
NATO border. And frankly, our
Dude, that's fucking nuts. So it's like
Russia already has a NATO border.
But it's just that's fucking insane. So Putin invaded a country without nuclear weapons, but he's going to risk a nuclear war with the United States. It's not the same thing at all.
Our men and women of our armed forces are going to have to go and fight him. I want to let the Ukrainians fight and drive.
I want to, like, literally, I want to fight this war to the last.
And the Russians back out into Russia.
I want to just briefly address Pence, Vice President Pence. I have a newsflash. The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
Did I say
the real threat? You talked about the communists, and the real communists that we have to address right now
have any
is the
idea what Vladimir Putin's aims are.
You already spoke. Now I actually have something to say.
Vladimir Putin has been saying
Russian
he wants to
nationalists.
reestablish the old Soviet sphere
You've made
of
your point,
influence.
Vice President.
Well, like, Putin put God's name back in the national anthem. God's in
Russia
the
is not a
Constitution.
communist country. They rebuilt the Cathedral of Christ the Savior.
They rebuilt a bunch of that. Russia has a lot of social problems. Russia has a lot of issues. I'm not saying it's a Christian paradise, but they're the country that has marriages defined between a man and a woman in their constitution, and you don't. So which society is more communist?
They're the one that has a cross on their coat of arms, and we don't.
Communist. He is a dictator and a murderer, and the United States of America needs to stand
so are you.
authoritarianism.
Mr. Ramaswamy, 30 seconds. Respond. The real threat we face today is communist China, and we are driving Russia further into China's
because you're
arms.
Indian.
The
Of course you hate
Russia-China
China.
military alliance is the single greatest threat we face. Nobody in either political party is talking about it, and I am the only non-neocon on this stage.
Mr. Vice President, we can't hear Mr. Vice
What do you say?
He said, "I'm the only non-neocon on this stage."
Mr. Vice President.
Give them a promise that Ukraine will never be in NATO, and then somehow
Mr. Vice President.
China will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve peace through strength.
Mr. Vice President.
Peace through power. Peace through power.
Here we go.
I think we need to establish some ground rules
When
here,
we
folks.
hear this bell,
Yes.
that means your time's done.
You're done.
So, Mr. Vice President, we appreciate your aggressiveness here. 30 seconds is 30 seconds. Mr. Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
So the reality is that today, Ukraine is not a priority for the United States of America. And I think that the same people who took us into the Iraq War, the same people who took us into the Vietnam War, you cannot end it. You cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders, protect the homeland.
All right.
That will be my top priority in foreign policy.
We gave you
Protect
more
that's
than
base.
30 seconds in the rebut. So I do want to get to some other people because
The Heimat.
we respect everybody's time here. So, Governor Haley, you.
Okay, the most base take I ever heard about the Iraq War is that like, if America had invaded Iraq, taken the oil and made it into like a resource colony, based, but they didn't even get any of the oil. Like,
No, they just kind of blew everything up.
no, I mean, if they had actually taken the oil, that would have been based, but no.
Did not raise your hand, meaning that you would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You have said of Governor DeSantis that you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity. They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference between good and evil. Right. When you look at the situation with Russia and Ukraine, here you have a pro-American country that was invaded by a
pro-gay country.
So when you
run
want
by
to talk
a
about
former
what
actor.
has been
What's
given to
pro-American
Ukraine,
because
less
we,
than
funded a coup.
3.5% of our defense budget has been given to Ukraine. If you look at the percentages per GDP, 11 of the European countries have given more than the U.S. But what's really important is go.
Yeah, but the U.S. is literally out of artillery. Like,
And also, the war is at a standstill.
Well,
like,
it will see.
Do you think it's gonna? Where do you think initiative's going?
I think Ukraine. So they recently committed their last reserves to try to take a town. I think Ukraine's lost any kind of ability to launch another major offensive after this.
Also, if the consensus among them is like, as soon as the war is over, Ukraine joins NATO. Well, that just tells Russia to say, okay, don't end the war, just keep sitting on their border.
No, like, why would they end the war then? I mean, I'm just being real.
Just keep going until you can completely conquer the whole country.
But the U.S. has given so much just of its ammunition, its Patriot missiles. Whether or not you support the war, it's going to take decades, for the U.S. to rebuild the stocks it's blown on this.
Back to when China and Russia held hands, shook hands before the Olympics, and named themselves unlimited partners. A win for Russia is a win for China.
Remember when you did that with Iraq?
Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends.
Keep in mind that the U.S. government recognizes Taiwan as part of China.
What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense. Putin has said,
what's the U.S.'s
once Russia
view?
takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next.
Sorry, what'd you say?
So wait, what's this official U.S. stance on Taiwan?
That Taiwan's part of China.
It's part of the People's Republic of China?
I think it's ambiguous, but it's part of China. It's not their official position is Taiwan is not an independent country. It is part of China.
World War. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is...
Sorry, me or her?
Her.
Oh.
...is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a...
Well, Trump killed people, Obama killed people.
George Bush killed people.
I mean, if you want to be a prince, like the leader of a state, you're going to have to kill people.
First of all, Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis,
Nikki, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
I'm not on
but
the
fact
boards
of the matter,
and Raytheon, and
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie.
Yeah, but it was based. He just blew her out.
You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad
you
brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician. There you have it.
Your watch,
so the reality
make America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have shows in the pointless world.
Crowd meaning because they're booing.
Relationship with Israel will never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not a client relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel
that is the
needs
answer.
America needs Israel.
No, they don't.
Governor DeSantis, you were mentioned in the territorial dispute.
Iran's not a threat to us, though.
I mean, that was about as good as you could get about Israel. From a
without
Republican.
getting I guess super based. Yes,
that was not bad.
Not only
no, it's not a territorial dispute
President
either.
of the United States, your first obligation is to defend our country and its people, and that means you're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people who are being killed because we're not handling both. And so I am going to declare it a national emergency. I'm not going to send troops to Ukraine, but I am going to send them to our southern border. When these drug pushers are bringing fentanyl across the border.
Well, and I'll go back to what I've been saying. People call me a China shill, but China sat down Saudi Arabia and Iran, and they came to a peace agreement. Now, if that happens, if it holds or not, I don't know. But why isn't America doing that? Why aren't they sitting down Israel? It's just... When was the last time America stopped a conflict instead of started it? And I don't trust China, and I think China is a nation full of snakes, but they at least know how to do PR.
It's going to be
better.
the last thing they do. We're going to use
They at least
force, and we're
can,
going to
like,
leave them stone
seem like they know how to
cold.
make a
We're
deal.
actually going to move on to China. We're going to talk about China.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like China will be like, okay, we don't care who your government is. We just want to make money, and you can make money with us. America's like, you have to legalize this. You have to have abortion on demand. You have to, like, basically do all this shit, and you have to beg for mercy. And it's just
Governor Burgum,
Mm-hmm.
China has the biggest navy in the world. The
It's
biggest
also
army in the
acting like
world. Now
it's
they
kind of
have
like the emperor
warships.
has no clothes because people see how much America is deteriorating, and it's just like people are not going to take it as serious. People are just going to take America less and less seriously, especially since Biden is just a senile old, crazy man.
okay. So Luther Dawnbringer brings up a good point. Trump actually was like the last American president in a long time who actually tried. Like, okay, so people make fun. He did go and talk to North Korea. He got a peace deal between Morocco and Israel. Like, I know it's not a big thing, but he at least was like putting in the effort.
Warships off the coast of Alaska. They are threatening Taiwan. In coming years, China will have 1,500 nuclear warheads, it's believed. The U.S. just arrested 2 sailors accused of spying for China within our military. So the question is, how would you deter China as a president, Burgum?
Well, this is the #1 issue we're facing. And of course, we haven't been talking about it. And we act like that letting Russia win in the Ukraine is like a gimme as opposed to a gift to China. Russia has become China's gas station. But how would we do it? The Biden administration is a complete fail. China.
So I found it interesting. Do you ever watch Defense Politics Asia?
No.
Okay, so he's from Singapore. So he was saying that from his perspective, just being over there, Trump's trade war with China was working. And what he thought was going to happen is Trump was going to like finish the trade war, then he was going to sit down with China and come up with a more equitable deal that allowed China to save face while also getting the U.S. a better
imports 10 million barrels of oil a day, more than any other country in the world. They do not even have all the food they need to feed everybody in that country. So they don't have energy security or food security. But the Biden administration sends Blinken, Yellen over there. They're over there talking. They don't even bring up energy because they're too busy trying to kill the U.S. energy here. And what we need to do is not meetings, not press releases, because something that would send a lot more than a press release is actually Harpoon missiles. We need anti-ship
We're gonna
missiles
kill
on
those
Taiwan. The way that
bastards
you have
like
a
we
war
did in 1900.
We need World War III. We need more bombs. We need more. And like sometimes you have to like. I'm not a pacifist, but I just don't get this whole like. Our first response has to be let's go to war. Like at least try to talk it out with China.
Start, which is the goal. The way you have peace through strength,
Especially
is that you actually
if you have to
strength.
realize, we're gonna live in a multipolar world now. Like we kind of already do. Like you can't just tell the Chinese what to do anymore.
Well, I mean, what looks better in the international community if you just like completely like militarily surround China, just load Taiwan up with weapons, you refuse to talk to China, you just shit on Z like all day. Or you at least try to have a dialogue. It doesn't work and China invades Taiwan. Like I think like optics alone.
They have deterrence.
Help make them look more like the aggressor.
What we got going on in Ukraine is an example.
No, I mean the U.S. looks like the aggressor in a lot of these, and
of when deterrence fail. What is an example there of Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the fact that he green-lighted Putin moving into Ukraine, and then now they see weakness, and when they see weakness, they make a move. And we have to be...
I do actually agree. I do actually think Putin never would have invaded Ukraine under Trump. I think Trump would have rattled his saber and threatened something, then him and Putin would have sat down, come to some sort of agreement that allowed Russia to save face.
strong.
I don't think
be
it would.
strong
Like,
both in
maybe
Ukraine
have
and we
some
can solve the southern
independence
border.
for, like, the
Absolutely,
Donetsk
we can do
Republic.
that.
Yeah.
Let them
Because
have
guess what?
a
There's only
referendum.
19,855 authorized people for the Border Patrol, but they're not all staff because the Biden administration doesn't enforce law enforcement. But Biden administration wanted to put 87,000 people in the IRS as opposed to giving the money and the support we need to our own Border Patrol.
Okay. Senator Scott on China, that same question.
And I speak about China.
Let's fire the 87,000 IRS agents and hire or double the number of Border Patrol agents. I just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago. The most pressing need of the American people from a national security standpoint is our southern border. It has led to the death of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl.
They
Plus,
should also then talk
6
about why don't we cut
million
off any
illegal
aid to Mexico or
crossings
start threatening
since
them
President Biden
if
has
they
taken
won't stop
office,
the-
and
Although I don't think they
200
really can do
people
anything.
on our national security watch list have been caught at our border. How many have not been caught at our southern border? If we just spend $10 billion, we could finish the wall. For $5 billion more, we could have the military-grade technology to surveil our southern border to stop the flow of fentanyl and save 70,000 Americans a year. That should be the priority of this government. And as the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more questions on China. I do want to ask about.
I want to say I couldn't agree more. It's not just the 70,000 from fentanyl. We've lost 200,000 people to overdoses since Biden took office. That's 300 people a day. We're taking mass casualties, and that's a statistic, but these are sons and daughters, nieces and nephews that we're losing. We've got North Dakota troops down there flying night helicopter missions from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop these transnational criminal organizations. They've got better funding on their side than we've got on our side.
Speaking of which, Governor Hutchinson, images from earlier this month, Governor Hutchinson,
with Mexico,
Vice President Pence,
policy.
images from earlier this month. Vice President Pence, it really doesn't help. I'm asking a question. Earlier this month, images showed suspected cartel members crossing into Texas with rifles. Do you consider this an invasion?
Yes.
Would you authorize lethal force along that border?
They would. Like, and I did a video on this way back in the day, like where I was like, what if you tried to explain illegal immigration to like an Aztec? Like, let's go to an Aztec and you're like, yeah, we let these people with weapons just walk into our country and just like sell drugs and fuck our way. Like, it's, I just don't see how, like, to any previous era, like, this would even be a question. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Would be
And yet,
lethal.
this is the whole thing with the neo-pagans, right? Is them saying, oh, the Christ cups, are fine with all this. It's like, it's only after mass secularization that this is happening.
What would Charlemagne have done with the refugee crisis? I don't think he would have.
The force used by the Border Patrol, law enforcement as needed to protect the border. Absolutely. When you look at the military has to be used for intelligence gathering purposes. This is not unusual. Whenever I was in the Bush administration, we went down there and met with President Vicente Fox of Mexico and asked his help in going after the cartels. And he looked at me and said, they're a problem to us as well. And so we joined together and we took down the Ariana Felix brothers leading the Tijuana cartel. And that made a difference. Ramon was shot and killed and Ben Amin was captured. Cooperation makes a difference. We cannot be successful going against the cartel unless we bring in Mexico as a partner. We have to use economic pressure to accomplish that. President Obrador has not been helpful, and we have to use economic pressure that this administration is not using. The rule of law has to matter on both sides of it.
Okay.
This is critical. I've done it. We know what needs to be done. The military has to be limited in its use. When after 9/11, we had the global war on terror.
Dude,
and
no one
guess what?
cares about 9/11.
That's the first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do with the folks that are here is to, again, as we've talked about all night tonight, we have to have law and order in this country. We have to enforce the law. And what that means... is to make sure that people who come here illegally are not rewarded for being here illegally. We have so many wonderful people from around the world.
Okay. Anyways, I think that's probably, you need to get to bed, right?
No, I can stay up for a little longer. I think.
Okay. Okay.
Who are waiting in?
I just don't want to keep you up with this nonsense.
No, my new job is like I wake up like an hour later for it.
Okay. And those people are waiting and waiting and waiting because we haven't dealt with the problem of the folks who are here. We have to have them detained. We have to make sure that they are not rewarded for having broken the law. And one last thing on this fentanyl issue.
Yeah, Trump is back on
With
Twitter.
China, we can't take our eye off of that ball. Right. Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said. But China is sending these chemicals to these drug cartels for them to create the fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens. The Chinese are engaging in an act of war against us, killing our citizens. We better make that priority one in our conversations with China and to try to straighten that relationship out. Because if we're going to lose more and more of our citizens.
I just want to clarify. Would you send those people?
I'm EST Doomfall.
Of course. You'd have to.
We have a
I just have an early shift at work, but I get home early.
We're going
and
to
I
talk
beat a
about
lot
the
of the
crisis
traffic.
in education, as millions of American children are not proficient in reading or math after this.
For reasons we cannot say.
Ideology from our K through 12 schools. And we have elevated.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Nothing.
The importance of American civics and teaching our kids about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As president, I'm going to lead an effort to increase civic understanding and knowledge of our Constitution. We cannot be graduating students that don't have any
I just think there's an episode of Star Trek, the original series, where Kirk literally just goes down to a planet of like cavemen and just starts reading them from the Constitution of the United
Department of
States.
Education, the FBI, the ATF, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the IRS, the
people.
Department of Commerce,
We the people.
many of these should not exist.
That's correct.
So, to the education question,
Base.
how would you deal with the crisis?
So look, we have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education. Take that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights issue of our time. Allow any parent to choose where they send their kids to school. End the teachers' unions at the local level to allow public schools to compete. And then revive our national identity where every high school senior should have to pass the same civics test that, frankly, every immigrant, including my mother, had to pass in order to become a citizen of this country. And the fact of the matter is, look, there's a part of education policy that also rests with the family. I didn't grow up in money, but you know the word privilege gets used a lot? Well, you know what? I did have the ultimate privilege of two parents in the house with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that. So part of the problem is we also have a federal government that pays single women more not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house, contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes hand in glove with the education crisis as well, because we have to remember education starts with the family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
Based!
Governor Haley has said that Biden.
I thought I read your super chat. Okay, I'm sorry if I didn't. Yeah, you said Trump. I thought I read that out. Sorry, okay. I apologize for that. I thought I read it. Yes, Trump had just tweeted out his mugshot on Twitter. So his first one since 2020. Sorry for not mentioning that.
Biological boys playing in girls' sports is the women's issue of our time. You said that even though you signed a ban on this in North Dakota, that there hadn't been one instance where it was actually needed. Are you saying that you think that too much is made of this
There are
issue?
no trans people in
No,
North
I'm
Dakota.
saying in North Dakota, we made a priority of protecting women's sports, and we've done that in our state. But I would absolutely do that. But I do think when we start talking about education and we think that we're going to have a federal government one size fits all, we're just completely losing track of the fact that education differs by states. Some school districts are doing a fantastic job, some less so. But the idea that every school district, state, and every teacher is somehow indoctrinating people is just false. You know, when I was building a company from scratch, you know, with small town kids, and we went, you know, grew up in a town of 300, but we built a global company in 132 countries with over 100,000 customers. We listened to those customers. We spent time with them. We talked to them. We did that. And as governor, well, education is one of the biggest part of a state budget. So as a governor, I shadow a student. I don't, the night before I find out the student finds out, I'm going to go to every class with them. I don't sit and lecture school districts how to do it. I go and see the experience.
Are you
There's a lot of
stalking
things that have to
children?
change. But what needs to change in education is it's innovation. We're doing it the same way we did it 50 years ago with innovation, not regulation. I would get rid of the Department of Education. I would give block grants to schools, but I'd give them on merit based on who's doing the most innovative. I just got done holding the 7th annual Governor's Conference on Innovation Education.
No, but you can't pay teachers based on like performance because there's certain people who just don't perform very well.
You should see what the people are doing when you cut
can you
loose
still
the
hear
red
me?
tape, get the burden
Sorry?
off their.
Oh, nothing. Can you still hear me?
They
Yeah.
care. Teachers in this country, the vast majority of them
Hey,
care
Ray,
about those
come over
kids.
here, girl.
They're working in low-paying jobs, and they're fighting for those kids and their families.
Governor Haley, you said that this is the women's issue of our time.
First, I'll tell you, as you know, as a parent, the one thing you want is for your child to have a better life than you did. And we can talk about all of these things, and there's a lot of crazy woke things happening in schools, but we've got to get these kids reading. If a child can't read by 3rd grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we need to make sure we bring in reading remediation all over this country. We need transparency in the classroom because parents should never have to wonder what's being said or taught to their children in the classroom. Parents need to be deciding which schools their kids go to because they know best.
Well, the problem, Nikki, is you assume they have parents.
And let's put vocational classes back into the high schools. Let's
Yeah, I
teach our
agree with
kids
that.
to build things again. When we do that and we allow that innovation, that's when it'll get back. And yes, I will always say I'm going to fight for girls all day long.
Corellian's solution to like our problem is we just employ we get all the unemployed young people to just build castles and cathedrals.
Because
So basically, just a
strong girls
massive
become strong women, strong women become strong leaders, and
Yeah, just make Anne Orlando real.
biological boys don't belong in the locker rooms of any of
You
our.
know, in like some of the, I think I've said this before, but in some of like, if you look at like some of the map files of it, like you can't see it from anywhere in the game, but it actually looks like in earlier textures, there was going to be like rail guns along the wall of Anne Orlando.
Nearly 70% of Americans
So,
say
like,
that
my policy is defund Dindu welfare, make Anne Orlando real, and build space colonies. That's my.
he is too old to
policy
serve.
plan.
Should presidents have to pass a mental and
Yes,
physical
100%.
test in order to serve?
They
Vice
should
President
definitely have
Pence?
to pass a physical one. Like,
Well, it might be a good idea to have everybody in Washington, D.C. pass a mental and. 30 seconds. No, the American people can make those judgments. But let me say, I'm not the president of the United States because
look what happened.
We don't need a president who's too old, and we don't need a president who's too young. We need a president who's been there. We need a president who knows how Congress works, how the White House works, how states worked, and on this education
doesn't
issue,
work.
Martha,
That's the problem.
I was fighting against No Child Left Behind when Republicans were doubling the Department of Education. I'll also shut down the federal Department of Education, and when I was governor, we doubled the size of the largest school choice program in America, and we'll give school choice to every family in America when I'm in the White House.
This is a lightning round, Mr. Ramaswamy. I think you were mentioned there. You're 38. You're the youngest on the stage. You've said, and you just said, you want a civics test or public service for those under 25 to be able to vote. So the question is, do you want a mental acuity test
That's so
for
base.
presidents over 75?
I believe in the people of this country to tell the difference between somebody who's an automaton and somebody who's actually a thinking agent in the White House, which we don't have in there today. And I will tell you, I want to address Vice President Pence's comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign. Go into the south side of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia, where traditional Republican candidates don't go. We have an opportunity to build a multi-ethnic, working-class majority to deliver a landslide, and I think I'm the only candidate in this race, young or old, black or white, to bring all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution. We're going to do it in 2024.
Same question to you, Governor.
In a presidential election until 20.
I will answer that. I will answer that.
30 seconds.
30-second quick answer.
You guys need to get control of this debate.
Everybody's going to get a chance to get
Listen,
control
we're
of
getting
this
control of the debate. This is a lightning round, not rolling thunder. Governor Hutchinson, you have 30 seconds on the same question.
On education, first of all, look at Arkansas. We have to compete with China. I built computer science education. We led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100 students to 23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As President of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas offering computer science for the benefit of our kids, and we can compete with China.
Adopt the
in terms
Soviet
of technology.
education.
Thank you, sir. This is going to go to this is
unironically.
We're trying to do a quick round of different.
Well,
topics.
Russia has
So,
twice the number
Senator
of
Scott,
engineers per
faith
capita as
is
the
on
United
decline
States.
in this country. You talked about it a little bit before tonight.
No,
So
we
is
just
there
need
role
a nation of
for a
artists.
President of the United States in changing that. What would you do to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon the Judeo-Christian values that has made this the greatest nation on God's green earth. I'm a big believer in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine. Our responsibility should be to model the behavior we want others to follow. On education, the only way we change education in this nation is to break the backs of the teachers' unions. They are standing in the doorhouse of our kids, locking them into failing schools and locking them out of the greatest future they could have.
As President, Governor DeSantis, would you support some mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th, and I deployed to Iraq alongside U.S. Navy SEALs in places like Fallujah, Ramadi, and it's something that I think has taught me, you know, when you go in that type of environment, anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. And guys come together, and they get it done. And that's how I would view being the President of the United States. It's not about me. It's not about all these other side issues. My sole focus will be on your future and reversing this country's decline.
Okay, now for something a little
The empire is in
out of this
decline.
world.
I
This
will
is for
stop
you,
it.
Governor Christie, do you believe that the recent spike in UFO encounters...
What?
I get the UFO question?
Shut up.
Yeah, you do.
Come on,
There you go. No, but okay, we've been hearing
I stand by what I said.
We've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress.
I
and people are
commented
taking this a lot more
if
seriously,
they look like
and we're
if
hearing
if
that,
the
you know, there are
aliens
things
have
going
women and
on
the
that
women
people
are
are
hot,
aware
then
of.
they're welcome.
So,
Yeah.
So the
if you were
Berlusconi
president, Governor
approach.
Christie, would you level with the American people about what the government knows about these possible
Look,
encounters?
Martha, and especially coming from a woman from New Jersey, I think it's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Look, of course, the job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. The job of the President of the United States is to stand
I don't
for
think you
truth.
can say that with a straight face.
The job of the President of the United States is to be a role model for our children and our grandchildren. And so whether it was UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way, and I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers' unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay. Well, coming up, we've got closing arguments. Plus, right after the debate, Hannity is live from the spin room right here in the Fiserv.
Oh, no one
With
wants.
reaction from all the candidates.
He also
As soon as
is
they
a
step off the
apostate
stage, we'll be back
Catholicism.
after this.
Oh, is he now?
Yeah, I think a few years ago he said like he just became like a Protestant. It's
Do
very
you
bizarre
trust our
where you
government
have
and
tons
where the
of,
economy is heading?
you have tons
Feel
of like
free.
Hispanics
When
that
things go
become evangelicals, but you also have people like me and a lot of like, you know, white evangelicals that become Catholic.
Office. President Reagan called America the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope and optimism.
So in your closing statement tonight, please tell American voters why you are the person who can inspire this nation to a better day. These are 45 seconds, and we begin with...
The fact that the only person on this stage that I would consider voting for is the base brown dude just shows how fucked the U.S. is.
Governor Burgum.
I understand why
Or
America's
actually, he's
hurting.
not that bad.
Biden's inflation is choking us. I grew up in a small town. My dad died when I was freshman in high school.
I mean, I'd much rather be governed by some random dude from North Dakota than, like...
My mom, widow of 3, went back to work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day.
Okay.
Our cities are less safe because of the fentanyl pouring into this country. Our economy is being crushed by Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gasoline at the pump. One thing that I'll do as president, I'll secure the border. I'll get this economy sprinting, not crawling like it is right now. And I would say that other things for sure, when I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota, it looks like the horizon is just limitless. And when you can almost see beyond that horizon, you can see that this great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation. We've got to cut the red tape. We've got to drive ourselves forward. The way we win the Cold War.
Back on your horse soon, Governor.
Governor Hutchinson?
Our nation is in trouble.
Which Mass Effect aliens would be welcome into heaven? Maybe the Turians that they converted to Christianity. The Asari are just like, I don't know. I don't like the Asari.
Aren't they just like... They're just like a sex-obsessed
They're racist
weirdo.
degenerates.
And it's in trouble because of failed leadership.
Well,
And
as
the
Star
solution
Wars
is
said,
not
there's
4 more years
there are
of Joseph
20,000...
The solution is not 4
there's
more years
20,000... there are 20,000 species in the galaxy. Only like one of them is xenophobic. Cut to the Space Marine saying, well, that's 19,999 too many. In the Emperor's name, let none survive.
Donald Trump. The solution is new leadership that can bring bold ideas to America and to bring out the best of America.
I just want to
The
say,
president's number one
watch
responsibility
Trump,
is to
if
bring
Trump
out
wins
the best
the election,
of our people.
watch
That's
all
what
these
Ronald
people
Reagan
come
did.
crawling back.
And he did
to
it
him.
with
Oh, they all
optimism
will.
and hope for our country.
I mean, once again, Vivek's being smart because he's not shitting on Trump.
With consistent conservatism, that's exactly what I bring. As president, I'll bring out the best of America in terms of individual responsibility, building
he
our
even think he has
economy,
a shot
in terms
in
of
hell
securing
of
our
winning?
borders.
Who even is this
enforcing
dude?
the
I don't
rule
even
of
know who
law.
he is.
I'll bring out the best
His
of
name is
America,
like
our
Ass
nation,
Hutchinson.
character,
Like,
our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight. ACE2024.com.
Oh!
Senator Scott.
Ace is like the main character of the new Chainsaw
I was a
Man
disillusioned young man growing up in a single-parent
And it's a
household,
shame.
mired in poverty. I wondered if the American dream was real for a kid like me. I can stand before you today and say the dream is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. I have the good fortune of a mom who works 16-hour days, making sure we have food on our tables. She taught me that if you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a
But do we really want to live in a society where that's the norm? I don't.
loan, you pay it back. If you commit a violent crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports against men. I'm Tim Scott. I'm asking you for your vote, and if you're in Iowa, I'm asking
And
you
this
to
is
caucus
Jackass.
for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more information or to make a contribution.
Governor Christie.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Martha. Look, everybody on this stage wants to be the next president of the United States. And the only way that's going to happen is if we beat Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's ever beaten a Democratic incumbent in an election. I did it in a deep blue state, being outspent 3-1. Beating a Democratic incumbent is not easy. The last Democratic incumbent president who was defeated was Jimmy Carter. And he was defeated by a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to get results, who stood for the truth, who cared about accountability, and stood strong and hard against waste. Those are the very things
Yeah, but
that I
Reagan
did in
was
my
from a
8 years
red
as
state.
governor of New Jersey, and it's exactly what I'll do as president of the United States. Believe me, the Democrats want some other nominee who's never beaten a Democratic incumbent. I'm the one who
Dude,
can win
no
this
one
race,
likes
and
you.
if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you. Governor Haley.
Several weeks ago, I dropped my husband, Michael, a combat veteran from Afghanistan, off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they had never been, all in the name of protecting America. If they are willing to protect us from there, we should be willing to fight for America here. I will beat Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our economy, and we'll bring this inflation down. We will put transparency in the classroom. We will secure our borders. We will have the backs of our law enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com, and let's get it done.
Vice President
Fat and furious.
Thank you, Brad and Martha, for this evening. It's an honor to be here. Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, their war on energy, runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border, an assault on our values and liberties, and the American people have had enough. But I know we can bring it back. But different times call for different leadership. The Republican Party owes the American people a choice. Proven leadership at the national level that knows how to move a conservative agenda forward. We proved in the Trump-Pence years you can turn this country around faster than you can imagine. And I have faith we will again. Because I have faith in the American people. The good, decent, hardworking, faith-filled, idealistic people of this country. And I have faith that God is not done with America yet. And if we will renew our faith in one another and renew our faith
Careful what
in
you
Him,
wish for, Mike.
who has ever guided this nation since we arrived on these wilderness shores, I know the best days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to come.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy.
I was born in 1985, and I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. And this is our moment to revive those common ideals. God is real. There are 2 genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to man. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history.
Obviously
that is
not.
What won us the American Revolution. That is what will win us the revolution of 2024. Thanks for letting me introduce myself tonight. Thank you.
Governor DeSantis. Governor?
This is our time for choosing. We will
hear
send
that?
Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse the decline of this country. I'm a blue-collar kid. I work minimum wage jobs to be able to make ends meet. I understand the importance of the American dream, and I know how that's slipped away from so many millions of Americans. We'll restore it. I'm a veteran who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put service above self. I'm also a dad and a husband to 6'5" and 3-year-old. I understand the importance of protecting parents' rights and the well-being of our children. In Florida, we showed it could be done. I made promises and I delivered on all of those promises. 2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan, no excuses. I will get the job done, and as your president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
Well, we want to say thank you. Thank you to all the candidates on the stage tonight, and thank you to Milwaukee.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you on the campaign trail, from debates to primaries to the general election and the conventions before that. Thanks for joining us. Sean Hannity from the Spin Room starts right now.
Take it away.
So, what do you think?
I think we're all going to hell, and we deserve it.
That's dark, but accurate.
In a political sense, not spiritually, obviously.
But it's like the base brown guy was like making sense.
Mm-hmm. I think a couple of them were. I mean, DeSantis was somewhat tolerable, but he's not that charismatic person that we.
No, like what he says is good. It's just he's bad at saying.
Burgum sounds okay, but he's like a nobody, and he looks like a Bert from Sesame Street. Everybody else sucks.
You don't like Krispy Kreme Christie?
Who is worse? Christie, Haley, or Pence? Who's like the?
I'm gonna say Christie is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Christie is. So, okay. Once again, I just want to say, I don't actually dislike DeSantis. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been a good governor. I think he would have been a shoo-in for the nomination. I just think that the way, like the incompetent, bizarre way he ran this campaign really puts his political future in doubt. Because how can you trust somebody like that who fucks up that bad to run the country? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually curious, if Trump wasn't running and it was these people, how this race would look.
I don't know. I mean, it would have been DeSantis's to lose, and he probably would have lost it because it's such a bad campaign.
You basically would have the Republican version of Obama come up. You'd have
it would be Vivek, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he's the only one who has any kind of like energy or new ideas or like a vision. Like, granted, it sounds like he just took stuff from like right-wing Twitter or something, but that's at least something.
If he starts tweeting about anime, then I'll be on.
I'll be on board. Make anime great again. He needs to make anime great again and legalize memes.
He needs to start debating anime with Joe Biden. About
yes, he does.
He needs to argue for why Masato is obviously the best girl.
He needs to. This girl. I don't know.
Well, for me, it's because I can't call Misato the mommy GF anymore because we're now the same age, so she's not older than me.
Mommy GF is more a state of mind.
Oh. Well, I need to save that degeneracy because I'm going to play Baldur's Gate 3 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna order some food. But yeah, I thank you for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. That was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, God bless, man. Have a good day at work tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty fun. God bless everybody. In the words of the late, the great Canadian philosopher Red Green, keep your stick on the